Broadcasting from Manhattan Beach and the World Wide Web, you're listening to CHSR, HealthyLife.net.
As a service to our listeners, this program is for general information and entertainment purposes only. CHSR HealthyLife.net does not recommend, endorse, or object to the views, products, or topics expressed or discussed by show hosts or their guests. We suggest you always consult with your own personal, medical, financial, or legal advisor.
Greetings, you're listening to Guiding Stars Evolutionary Astrology Radio. This is your host, Kristin Fontana, and I'm here with my co-host, Rose Marcus. Welcome back, Rose.
Hi, Kristin. Hi, everyone.
All right, well, it is November, the end of November. We are recording this a wee bit early before Thanksgiving holiday in the U.S., so we can get this over to you in plenty of time, and there's so much happening. I always say that. I seem to always say that because there always is a lot happening. We are entering retrograde reality, a retrograde reality. So before we get into the transits and right out of the gates, we do have a Mercury retrograde, but is there anything you wanted to announce?
Oh, no, just carrying on. So, but you are right. This next month is just jam-packed. And we are at the start of a lengthy retrograde cycle because of all of the personal planets going retrograde over the next few months.
Oh, wow. Yeah. It's a lot.
It's a lot.
I think would be a good way to start so people don't panic, because a retrograde period, and it does depend on the planet that we're talking about. I mean, Mercury retrograde can be a little annoying at times. If you're traveling and you have a delay or there's weather, they cancel your flight. If in those cases, it's no fun hanging out at the airport for 8 hours, right?
Yeah.
And what I always tell friends and colleagues, and not colleagues so much, but clients, is that it's just important to make more time for everything. To not be in a hurry, to prepare for the possibility for something to be delayed, and then if you're expecting it and it doesn't happen, then awesome. If you were born with Mercury retrograde like I was, sometimes it works just seamlessly for us Mercury retrograde people, and so oftentimes I don't have any issues with travel during a Mercury retrograde because for me it feels direct. Although I can experience other things. During that.
I have to say that quite often my clients are taking trips during Mercury retrograde, and we kind of go, you don't want anything to go wrong, and they have wonderful vacations or wonderful time out. You feel Mercury retrograde Mercury retrograde might be more obvious than other planetary retrogrades because it's a fast mover. It's the fastest mover, right? So we're going to feel that influence, but not all retrogrades are the same. And retrogrades are necessary and important review periods. So we have to check in with ourselves every now and again to always be on the hamster wheel and go, go, go without taking a little bit of time out for reflection, a little bit of time out for checking in. Mercury retrograde can be very useful. I mean, we have the kind of the way everybody knows it, like, oh my God, the Murphy's Law cycle. But it has so much opportunity. Mercury retrograde is wonderful for putting time aside to get into that project that you haven't finished yet, to get back to some writing, to get on with things that have been pending, that have been bothering you, but you haven't had time for, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And the taking a vacation example you gave, it makes sense because when you think about retrograde words, rejuvenate, replenish, rest, return, remember. I love the word remember during a Mercury retrograde. Oftentimes, especially in Sagittarius, it's just about remembering something or I would say too, something that made you laugh, or something that, maybe a memory of your own travels in another time. I think remembering is a wonderful thing, to remember.
I think also remembering why you are continuing the way you are.
Exactly. So anyway, 22 degrees of Sagittarius, for those of you who are paying attention to degrees, it will station retrograde. By the time you listen to it, it will already be retrograde. So by the time you're listening to us. So 22 degrees of Sagittarius. Now, we are also going to be releasing this right before a new moon in Sagittarius as well. And so we have entered the Sagittarius scene, which of course I love. That free-spirited energy. It just is a relief, really, to feel that fire, to come out of the Scorpio reality, to feel hopefully more hope about the future. We've been through a lot here in the U.S. in November, and we will continue to be. I'm wondering, what is the Mercury retrograde in Sag with Mars retrograde coming in Aries going to mean for all of us personally? And we are going to talk more about that. Mars, not Aries, it's Mars and Leo, excuse me, moving retrograde on December 6th. So what do you think that's going to be? We're already seeing signs of it here in the U.S.
Well, I think that, first of all, Mercury is in the sign of Sagittarius, right? And it's 22 degrees back to, I think it's around 6. By the time it ends retrograde on a full moon on the 15th of December, it is in trine to that Mars, which turns retrograde on the 6th of December, right? So, so I think that this is, Mercury in Sagittarius, as you said, is buoyant, it's inspired, let's get a move on, it gives that sense of hopefulness. And we have so many things going on this month, and one of them is the Jupiter-Saturn square that Mercury is picking up on. We have this Mercury in Sagittarius, Jupiter in Gemini. We have the new moon tomorrow in Sagittarius. We have the full moon on the 15th in Gemini. We have Gemini, Sagittarius, like all over the place, right? We've got both of these things going on. But Jupiter and Saturn, beliefs create reality, right? And what are you envisioning? What do you believe? And how are you putting that into motion, right? The retrogrades are giving the opportunity to sort that out, to feel your way along, to be in touch with that, right? And Mercury is in the sign of Sagittarius, and Jupiter is in the sign of Gemini. And that is what we call in astrology mutual reception, right? So mutual reception means that each planet is in the sign of the other. And they are coming to an opposition twice in the month of December, right at the beginning. Where's my list of transits? I can't remember. I think it's the 4th of December and the 26th of December. So we have this opposition happening here. So that is really opening things up, broadening. When Mercury is in Sagittarius, it's about broadening. It's about broadening what you are aiming for, broadening the vision, expanding the idea of something, expanding, building it larger.
Yes, exactly. A perfect example, since Jupiter rules the right brain and Mercury rules the left brain, when you're writing something and you're operating from simply the left brain and you're trying to think of things to say or information to get down, when the right brain kicks in, it's like a whole new world opens up. So the intuition becomes such an energizing force under that opposition. For me, when I go on hikes and I'm out in nature and I'm not thinking of anything at all, like my brain is not active at all, I'm just in nature, It's like all of these ideas just drop into me. They just come into me at what feels like out of nowhere. So it's not out of nowhere. I mean, I'm being fed things and being directed in that way. And that's what it feels like. I don't even ask for it. It just appears. It's wonderful because, it helps with forecasts. It helps with newsletters. It helps with all of that. What do the people need to hear right now? What do I need to know so I can articulate it? And ultimately, when we have our intuition operating, it's a sixth sense. It's part of our sensory field. And so when you're out in nature and you're smelling it, you're seeing it, you're feeling it, all of those senses are alive. Then it just opens up that sixth sense so much. And then things can happen organically and naturally. I know for myself, you too must as well, Rose, that when we try and write, when we're not in an emotional place or an intuitive place, it's exhausting. Like I can't get that left brain really to say what I wanted to say. I feel limited by it because there's a limit to what the mind, the left brain in particular, can access. So I agree with you. It's going to be a big opening up, expanding energy, a door opening time with that opposition just after a new moon in Sagittarius.
Well, and I think the point is that this is a marriage of intellect and intuition, these two planets working together. And Jupiter's it's the advice is you have to trust your intellect, right? We're operating all the time with the mind, right? With the conceptual frame of reference. I know how to function here. And if you trust that your rational, intellectual mind is already operating, you don't have to give it more effort, right? If you stop the effort on the intellectual end of things, it gives room for the intuition to merge with that, to come in and take its proper place, right? So that's like, don't have to labor. You can't think you don't have to labor the mind. You can't think your way out of dilemma, right? But when you let it go, you get the answer.
That is so true. I have to say this. That is so true because that square to Pisces, the T square to Pisces is about that surrendering of like trying to just grip onto that answer. What is it? You can't labor your way out of the dilemma. What did you say?
Yeah, labor the way out of the dilemma. It's like when I'm thinking it, it's like I'm pushing it away. Right?
Exactly.
And there's so many variables there. So I can see it like this, I can see it like this, I can see it like that. But what I'm actually doing is clouding the answer because I've got, too many boxes in front of me. I can't see beyond it.
Okay, you ready? You got to let go to know.
You got to let go to know. Okay, I'm going to write that on a t-shirt.
Okay, yeah. That's a good one. I do have some t-shirts I want to make at some point. So if anybody out there has any connections, I've got messages on t-shirts, astrological messages. So we'll add that one. But when I think about Neptune and Pisces, I think about, right now we do have Neptune and Pisces. Saturn is in Pisces as well. So it's, part of this square, right, to Mercury. And that's going to be returning. So there's a lot going on with that Saturn and Jupiter and Mercury. I mean, all this mutable energy. And the one thing about Pisces, with Saturn and Pisces, is keep it simple. Pisces, I have a son who's a Pisces, and the more simple I can communicate with him, the better it is. Like, it's the thing about Pisces. Life is simple. Love is simple. And that's really what the teaching is within this Pisces energy, that we don't need to complicate our life and or complicate the way we go about things. So just let go. You got to let go to know is perfect. Wow. Okay.
There's your
Something
answer.
else I wanted to say. Move out of my brain.
Oh gosh. Well, I just want to maybe we'll move forward here. Moving forward with the new moon launches the month of December, and we just have such a cluster of stars over this first week, right? It's quite amazing. On the first, and Yeah.
Real quick, before we go to the first, on the 30th, I mean, people are going to be listening to this probably on the 30th, on the new moon or around it. There's one fantastic aspect I want to mention. Venus is in Capricorn, trining Uranus in Taurus on that new moon. So when we look at new moon cycles, full moon cycles, they're 2 weeks at a time until the next lunar aspect. So new moon, full moon, it's 2 weeks in between. That new moon is activating 2 weeks of energy. And so with a new moon in Sag, there's hope, there's a door opening, there's a serendipitous moment, there's a return to something that opens you up, motivates you, inspires you. And with Venus in Capricorn, that is about not something that is on a wing and a prayer or fly-by-night kind of thing, wistful. It's real. It can be real. That's Venus in Capricorn. Trining Uranus in Taurus, which is ruled by that Venus. A trine is a 120-degree angle, one leg of a triangle. And it's an electric energy. It's a sudden energy. It's a blast that can change everything. It could be meeting somebody new that you've never met before, that opens a door for you, that makes you think differently, feel differently, try a new path. It could be many things. It could be an absolutely wonderful transformative energy within your relationships. It can be an earning opportunity. That's Venus. What do you think about that?
Well, that's exactly it. And the exact Venus-Uranus trine is on the 2nd of December. So we've got that weekend to get that going. And the angle of that first quarter is in terms of moving on, a release pattern. It's time to move on now, right? To move on to the next thing. And I think that really is quite wonderful because, as you said, it's Earth, Capricorn and Taurus. This is manifesting. It gives you something tangible and real to help you to move forward. So I absolutely love the way the month is starting. And as we move to the 4th, which is the first of the Mercury retrograde, or the Mercury-Jupiter oppositions, on the 4th it will be retrograde. On the 26th, Mercury will be out of retrograde and opposing Jupiter. But on the 4th, the Sun is in square to Saturn. And that's a moving forward piece as well, too, right? So if you've been struggling with something, that new moon is already putting it into motion, already giving it wings, already elevating it, already creating the opportunity. That's opportunity is a really good word for that Venus-Uranus trine. When you have a trine like that, things fall into place. Whatever it is, Venus has to do with what you think is of value and of worth. So here, that Venus-Uranus trine, how that comes together is in a very worthwhile place for you, right? Can be that.
I can't believe it took us this long to even talk about this right now, but partly because you and I have already been writing about it and talking about it. But Pluto's in Aquarius right now for the next 20 years. We're here. It's happening. And so Uranus rules Aquarius, right? So think about that. So everything about Aquarius and Uranus is just like new and exciting. It can be traumatizing too. I mean, we can see both sides of it, but it's this unexpected jolts of energy. I just think of a lightning bolt when I think of Aquarius and Uranus. And so to have this beautiful trine of Venus and a Capricorn and Uranus and Taurus right after Pluto enters Aquarius with Uranus ruling that, it feels like there's something that is going to be able to ground us or ground you, whether it's on a new path or just feeling more secure about something that was maybe giving you heart palpitations prior, that's how I see those two planets in Earth signs and Uranus ruling Pluto in Aquarius. So Pluto's in Aquarius for the long haul for all of us. And, we're all going to need things that ground us, that bring us back to reality, right? That keep us out of fear, because it really can have the effect of increasing the speed of our nervous system. So we all have to have go-tos with this new energy. And
yeah, and what I was going to say about that too, Aquarius is an acceleration archetype. And I think that this Venus-Uranus, that it's right here, and I have to say that last week, Pluto moving into Aquarius, boy, was I stressed, you know. Not really anything to pin it on, but my anxiety was very high. It was like, I don't think I was taking a full breath, and, you know, it was, you know, that breathing apparatus, this idea of other shoe gonna drop. And what I was gathering, just watching social media, because the world had heard that Pluto was moving into Aquarius, and I felt this kind of buzz in the collective going, oh my God, what does that mean? Oh my God, what does that mean, right? And it didn't mean that the world came to an end the day that Pluto moved into Aquarius, right? You know, so that kind of, that energy of that stress seemed to me to be very, you know, very evident everywhere I looked, including for myself. But I feel that that Venus-Uranus trine, we're acclimatizing quite quickly to the new programs. That's what I feel this is about. Like, do you know, despite the fact that the election is still like, you know, all the like, oh my God, look at what he, you know, he's elected today and, you know, blah, blah, blah. It feels like a long time ago too, right? And, you know, so now, and this is what happens with Aquarius, you know, the shock value, we go like, oh wow, splat, you know, and then very shortly after that, we start to regroup and we start to get a move on. Do you know, it doesn't end the, you know, the conflict, the problem, the challenge, the what, you know, whatever, but we're already on the move along, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and that's what I think this Venus-Uranus does is that we're already acclimatized to dynamic change. We're already oriented to it at some level, whether that's unconscious or conscious, whether it is something physical, tangible, manifesting right in front of you or not. You're already with the program here.
Yeah, exactly. You're already on the train.
Already on the train. And the train's already moving. We have to go to a break, speaking of train.
I said a bullet train or a jet plane, more like, I think is Aquarius is more like elevated jet plane, like fastest turbocharged aerodynamic. Yeah.
Yeah, perfect.
All right, we'll be right back.
Find out about Kristin Fontana and get your free weekly astrological forecast on her website, KristinFontana.com. Read articles written by the founder of evolutionary astrology, Jeffrey Wolf Green. Evolutionary astrology is a spiritual perspective astrology from Pluto's point of view, and what a view it is. You can even order a detailed, personalized chart that tells you about your past, present, and future. You'll also discover where and when Kristin's upcoming conferences, workshops, and appearances will be on KristinFontana.com. That's KRISTIN Fontana.com.
Okay, you're stressed. You need a little R&R. Wouldn't going to a spa help? There's all kinds of spas, too. Destination spas, medical spas, day spas, even dental and mobile spas. Where do you find the right spa at the right price? Oh, no, more stress? Well, not anymore. Visit spafinders.com. At spafinders.com, you'll find everything you need to know about spas from around the world. So de-stress. Click on spafinders.com right on our homepage. Ah, I'm feeling relaxed already.
What would happen if you didn't follow the established path? Would you feel scared or proud? Could you explain that helping the people of Peru improve their own community would also have an effect on your own? Would you rather make your own way or spend a lifetime saying, what if? Life is calling. How far will you go? Peace Corps. To find out more, call 1-800-424-8580 or go to peacecorps.gov.
Water. In the hot summer sun, water is a natural thought, like relaxing at the beach with the waves lapping at your feet, or perhaps being with your significant other under a secluded, gently cascading waterfall. If you want a little more action, how about water skiing or boating on an icy, clear blue lake? With Expedia.com, everything you need for travel, flights, hotels, cruises, vacation packages, they have it all at a price you can afford. Go to HealthyLife.net's advertiser page and click on Expedia.com.
I'm William Shatner, and this is Jimmy. Animals like Jimmy are often left behind by people fleeing hurricanes, fires, floods, and earthquakes. These abandoned animals cannot survive on their own. If you must evacuate your home, please Never leave an animal behind. If you absolutely cannot take your animal with you, never leave him helplessly chained or caged. Many animals die because they cannot escape fires or rising waters. Animals need your help. Thank you.
Call PETA today, 757-622-PETA.
HealthyLife.net, the Positive Radio Network.
All right, we are back. All right. So, Mars in Leo. Mars has entered Leo as of November 3rd and will only really be in Leo before backing into Cancer, around the 3rd or 4th of January 2025. I'll let you give me that date in a second. But Mars is in the early degrees of Leo. It's slowing down. It started to slow down while it was in Cancer around the early part of October. So what it's doing for Mars to slow down, it doesn't want to slow down to begin with, but it is. And it's forcing us all to pay attention to our footsteps. It's forcing us to pay attention to the direction of our journey, to really be in touch with what we want and what our instinct is telling us. And as Mars slows down in Leo, it's a fire sign. It can be like throwing more kindling into the inner fire because it will heat us up on the inside once it inverts, which means it includes feeling more passion about something or just purpose. Like, why am I here? What is it that I'm here to do? Enough wasting any more moments. Let's go. And so I love Mars in Leo. It does like to be in Leo, but it doesn't like to be retrograde. I think we'll all benefit from the retrograde big time. Another thing that's happening is that the transiting nodes are in Libra and Aries. Libra is the past, the transiting south node. Aries is the north node, the transiting north node in Aries, which is the future, pulling us into our future. And Mars is literally trining the transiting north node until early January. So we have all this time now. This doesn't happen. Mars usually just zooms along. We get a few days of this fire and motivation and inspiration, and then it's gone. Like, it's just bye-bye. All you can see is the smoke behind it. So we have all this time now that we can energize things that we want to focus on, the things that we're determined to do. We can really get in touch with what we want and spend a considerable amount of energy and focus on that. That is a great thing, personally. So remember that on December 6th, when Mars stations retrograde at 6 degrees of Leo, it is trining the North Node. And so what is it that you want? And what is it that you want to know that you've done by, I don't know, pick a couple of years from now, a Mars cycle. And you can think about this more long term. What do you want to know that you've done within 10 years? Write it all down. Really think about what it is you want short term and long term. This is the time to do that.
I absolutely love the way you described it as putting more kindling on the fire.
Yeah.
That's perfect for the Mars retrograde. That just sums it up right there. That's just fantastic. I was thinking that Mars retrograde in Leo, it's an interesting thing because, of course, Mars retrograde is going to inhibit outward action. And I think Leo is an archetype of center, right? Of standing in your own creative center, which is what the Leo archetype, the sun archetype, does the best. So that's pretty great. And the only, I think, inhibiting thing about the Mars retrograde in Leo is because Mars in Leo wants attention, right? It wants applause. It wants praise. It wants that kind of reward. And I think this Mars retrograde in Leo, partially, it's quite okay to be there because it helps you to turn into your own creative process, which is, I'm just going to do this. That's great. But it is reinforcing that you get the applause or praise or accolade out of yourself, rather than seek it externally. So that's a reinforcement or revitalization of I amness. I'm quite okay with me. I'm quite okay with what I'm creating here. This is me and this works for me. And so that cycle can be very reinforcing to help you get back in touch with yourself in the most, kind of brilliant way possible. It's about that shine, right? It's like you have to be fully immersed in at one with the creative process to make a success out of it, in terms of the seeking of fulfillment of desire, whether that desire has to do with something manifesting in the world or whether it has to do with a quality of how you live with yourself, right?
I have to share this. I did a reading for someone who's 86 years old yesterday, and she still wants to know how she can serve. It just really gave me chills and brought a little tear to my eye. I was like, wow, look at you with that moon in Virgo up in the 10th house. You still want to serve. It's just wonderful. And she was asking me, why every time I started something did I stop it? This whole tendency for the Virgo energy and people to not finish what they start, and then the why becomes part of it. Well, a Mars retrograde can help us finish what we start for sure. And it was the coolest thing ever. I hope it's okay that I'm sharing this. I'm sure it is because it's anonymous. But she said, I asked myself, what have I left unfinished? I mean, I'm 86 years old. I still want to serve. I still have time here. She said, there's a book I started that I never finished. And, I've always kind of questioned my ability to pull it off or, am I enough? Who do I think I am kind of thing? And she said, you know what? I went back and read that work that I did years ago. And she said, I thought it was great. Okay, so this is already occurring in her, like this self-love and also just, proud of herself. And I was like, that is the best thing I think I've heard from a Virgo moon in my entire life as an astrologer. Just really like, yeah, man, that was good. She said, I might need to rewrite it, but just to have that foundation. And so it is a wonderful time to go back to things that you started, resurrect them. Maybe it needs to evolve and it needs to, be brought back with the times to make it what it needs to be. But I just thought it was really incredible, to hear that. I don't know if I'm going to live till 86, but I hope that, when I'm up there, if I last that long, that's going to be a similar message coming out of my mouth. And I think, I'm just loving the spirit of that.
Oh, that's a lovely, lovely story, right? And here we have Pluto in Aquarius too, so it's a whole new consciousness coming in. That idea of being able to circuit break on who you've always been that has been your lesser self instead of your greater self.
I have a quote that I want to share before we move into other transits. We're going to be talking about Mars retrograde for many weeks to come, right, Rose? And we'll talk about when it moves direct again, when it comes back into Leo later. It will be retrograde until February 24th when it stations direct in Cancer at that time. But here's my quote for the Mars station retrograde in Leo. When shadows deepen and hope feels thin, let the fire within ignite your journey to begin. So this is the kindling to the fire, right? I'm hoping we will all feel more hope with the new moon in Sagittarius before too long. If you don't feel that already, the sun is already in Sag, Mercury's in Sag, it's about to be retrograde. Find the reasons to feel grateful, even if it's just the sun returning every day for another chance, to take it on again, to take whatever it is, to be creative, to get out and put your face in it if it is shining in your neck of the woods. So anyway, I just love that quote along the lines of the kindling analogy.
Fantastic. We have to go to break. We'll be right back.
Okay.
Find out about Kristin Fontana and get your free weekly astrological forecast on her website, KristinFontana.com. Read articles written by the founder of evolutionary astrology, Jeffrey Wolf Green, Evolutionary astrology is a spiritual perspective astrology from Pluto's point of view, and what a view it is. You can even order a detailed personalized chart that tells you about your past, present, and future. You'll also discover where and when Kristin's upcoming conferences, workshops, and appearances will be on KristinFontana.com. That's Kristin, Fontana.com.
Have you ever wondered why you are here on this planet and what the point to all of this is? Evolutionary astrology is a natural science that allows for an understanding of the evolutionary journey of the soul from life to life. Evolutionary astrology provides a vehicle to understand prior life dynamics that have led to the reason and purpose for the life you live. It offers a depth of information and insights about each person that no other type of astrology can provide. As Jeffrey Wolf Green, the founder of Evolutionary Astrology, says,
for those who wish to unveil the depth of who you actually are, I would highly recommend that you seek out qualified evolutionary astrologers such as Kristin Fontana and other graduated students of the School of Evolutionary Astrology. For those who are considering becoming an astrologer to make it a natural career, I'd recommend that you consider Jeffrey Wolf Green's School of Evolutionary Astrology, where it will assist you in answering and your clients answering a big question. Why am I here? Thanks for listening. God bless.
Okay, you're stressed. You need a little R&R. Wouldn't going to a spa help? There's all kinds of spas, too. Destination spas, medical spas, day spas, even dental and mobile spas. Where do you find the right spa at the right price? Oh, no, more stress? Well, not anymore. Visit spafinders.com. At spafinders.com, you'll find everything you need to know about spas from around the world. So de-stress. Click on spafinders.com right on our homepage. I'm feeling relaxed already.
Whether you're taking a short trip or traveling across the world, Magellans.com is the world's most trusted source for travel, and they guarantee 100% satisfaction. They have everything you need to make travel just a bit more pleasurable. Who doesn't like that? They have travel alarms, clothing, the best luggage, wallets, everything you need except the ticket. Visit the advertiser page on healthylife.net and click on Magellans now. You will not only see their travel products, but get a free catalog and read articles with tips on how to make your travel easier. Visit the advertiser page and click on Magellans now.
HealthyLife.net, where positive overcomes negative.
All right, we are back. And just want to give you the dates for the Mars retrograde transit that we have. So Mars will turn retrograde on the 6th of December at 6 degrees of Leo. And on January 6th, it is going to back into Cancer. It will end retrograde in Cancer on February 23rd, and it won't be back to Leo until the 18th of April, and it will be leaving Leo on June 17. So that is a really long time. And basically we have Mars moved into Cancer, got into Leo, backed into Cancer, moved into Leo before it moves on. And we have this month of, and Mars moved into Leo on the day of the U.S. election. It started the day in Cancer and moved to Leo on the day of the U.S. election. So we go all the way from the November date, and it leaves the post-shadow period at the beginning of May. It's around the 3rd of May. And it's interesting, I looked at a couple things here. We have Jupiter in retrograde right now, and Jupiter ends post-shadow at the same time that Mars ends post-shadow, and what that means is covering the degrees that each of those planets turned retrograde at the start of the retrograde at the same time in the beginning of May, which is fascinating alone here. So we've got this pocket of time that's taking us from November to the beginning of May. And it's quite interesting because there's a few things that go along with Mars retrograde transit is an opposition to Pluto, right? And because of the retrograde, when a retrograde planet is aspecting other planets, it can do a 3-pass, right? And so it's doing the 3-pass with Pluto, was November 2nd. The next one is January 3rd. And the last one is end of April, April 26th. So we're working through, quite a lot right through the end of April into May, June, by the time that Mars in Leo ends. So, and you said this right at the beginning, slow down, take your time. It's going to take all that time to get that whole program, manifested, whatever it is. It's like, I think of that springtime as springboard time, right?
Yes, definitely. And that would be fall for the Southern Hemisphere people. But it's like a 7-month window. I mean, we're only really just started early October, ends early May. I mean, again, there's many things that will be unfolding and happening. And I think just more than anything, it's just about being patient with an unfolding process, a natural process, that there's still things that you will need to experience, come to know, before you feel ready to really go, before you feel really ready to maybe even commit to something or fully make yourself or make it through a turn even. And so I think, when we're not in a hurry and we don't have this expectation of when something has to happen, we just trust that the right time will reveal itself, then we can relax around everything that's happening and trust that we will know. When you let go, you will know, right, Rose?
Yeah, exactly. Well, the other thing about a retrograde cycle, I always like to describe it as lift and separate, right? So it is about having more objective awareness. It's about observing, right? And sometimes you have to let things play out, whether that's an emotion or a circumstance, right? You have to let it play out, right? And you may get the answer, you may download the answer, but you still got to watch it play out. So this is the proper use of any retrograde cycle.
That's so good. All right, so there's a lot going on that day on December 6th we wanted to talk about too. I mean, it is a big day astrologically, not to mention Mars is stationing retrograde. It's forming beautiful angles to the nodes, but we do have Venus in Capricorn at the 29th degree, conjunct Ceres, and it's conjunct Pluto itself in a balsamic conjunction, and will cross in front of Pluto and enter Aquarius that same day, that night, I believe.
Yeah.
Gosh, that's a mouthful right there.
Well, really, I just talked about Jupiter and that post period a few moments ago, but I have to, this lineup is just amazing. So on the 4th, we already mentioned that Mercury is opposing Jupiter. At the same time, the Sun is squaring Saturn. So that is, whatever is jammed up. You might have some insight. It just might, all of a sudden you're just like over the hump with it. You're moving forward in some way. On the 5th, Sun and Mercury retrograde are conjunct. And what that is an inferior conjunction. That's the halfway point, the midpoint of the retrograde cycle. So there's a shift here between, the first half of the cycle is kind of gathering the info, and then the second half is kind of processing the info. This is sometimes the way I like to suggest that cycle works. On the 6th, when Mars turns retrograde, as you just mentioned, Venus is moving out of Capricorn into Aquarius, and we have Mercury square Saturn on that day as well too. When we move to the 7th of December, we have Venus and Pluto are conjunct. We have Sun opposing Jupiter, which is the midpoint of the Jupiter retrograde cycle, going along with Mars, just stationing retrograde with Mercury at the midpoint, that cluster of the 5th, 6th, and 7th. And we've got asteroid Ceres moving out of Capricorn and into Aquarius also. Like, this is stacked. It's just absolutely stacked. And on the 8th, Ceres and Pluto are conjunct as well too. So that's a run of stars that is just significant. When Mars stations retrograde, whatever you're into can come to a bit of a stall, right? When a planet is stationing retrograde, it's like I was on my way to doing this. This was the plan for the day, but somehow it got thwarted, right? But we've got all these other things. It's kind of that standstill. I describe sometimes these standstills as like those movies where they freeze the main character and everything else is revolving around it.
Oh, that's cool. I like that visual.
Yeah. And that's actually a little bit of what's happening here with these transits, right?
That's good. Yeah.
Mercury and the Sun conjunct on the 5th and Sun opposing Jupiter on the 7th, both of those are infusing, right? And the Sun is that creative piece of that, it's the actualizing piece, so it's infusing the programs.
What that makes me think of, and as well, is that because we have Pluto in Aquarius and Venus entering Aquarius, Venus rules the transiting North Node also in Libra, Venus rules transiting Uranus in Taurus, is that that pause, the soul pause while everything around us is moving, allows you to have this 360-degree view of your life. It's almost like you're able to objectify and observe this or that. It's like leaving your form and flying outside your form above it and being able to everything inside of you stops, and yet your view of everything is almost circumferential. Is that a word? You know what I mean? It's almost like 3D or 360 degree. And so, wow, that is intense. And also not just really intense as much as it is informing. And Venus will move in front of, I just found it, like on December 7th, that Saturday at 6:09 a.m. or something Pacific, I see Venus coming in front of Pluto here. And, she's then, you see, she's a she. She's then moving into a beautiful angle to the nodes, but moving into an opposition to Mars. So I'd like to talk to you about that aspect that follows. What is that about?
Well, let us go to break and come right back then.
Great. I'll be right back.
Find out about Kristin Fontana and get your free weekly astrological forecast on her website, KristinFontana.com. Read articles written by the founder of evolutionary astrology, Jeffrey Wolf Green. Evolutionary astrology is a spiritual perspective astrology from Pluto's point of view, and what a view it is. You can even order a detailed, personalized chart that tells you about your past, present, and future. You'll also discover where and when Kristin's upcoming conferences, workshops, and appearances will be on KristinFontana.com. That's KRISTIN Fontana.com.
Take one step towards spirit. Spirit will take 1,000 steps toward you. Come explore the world of evolutionary astrology with Rose Marcus. Rose Marcus is well known for her heartfelt passion, sensitive counseling skills, and dedication to helping others. You can now study evolutionary astrology from the comfort of your own home through live teleconference classes with Rose. To register for the next Evolutionary Astrology School, to read your in-depth monthly horoscope, or to book a private astrology with Rose Marcus, please visit her website, www.rosemarcus.com.
Oh, man, it never fails. My suitcase just got ripped apart.
Life is a journey. Make it a pleasant one. Use Samsonite. You know the name. For almost a century, Samsonite luggage has proved itself to be the worldwide leader in innovative travel solutions. Let it be yours. Visit HealthyLife.net's affiliate Samsonite on our homepage and click to look at the fine luggage from suitcases to golf travel bags. And don't forget, take a look at their travel accessories. Make life a journey, a pleasant one, with Samsonite.
HealthyLife.net, the positive radio network.
All right. I just wanted to say one other comment on what you just said there. The station is amplified and infusing, right? So that, the energy of all of that is really, it's souped up. Souped up. Yeah. Yeah. And Venus and Mars are the rulers of the nodal axis. And that nodal axis is going to be moving on in January. But what do you say about the Mars-Venus opposition?
Wow.
Yeah.
That is a turnstile. Wow. I've never seen one. Okay, so I have to explain that, and then you can tell me what you think. But those turnstiles that you walk through when you go from the parking lot to the airport, those round things, or maybe you're going from the parking lot to an event, you go through a turnstile. That is what this feels like to me. It's a very different energy from the parking lot to the event, or the parking lot to the airport, inside the airport where you're about to take off, right? So it is a transition of energy, and even a throwing off of energy. So something that needs to be thrown off from the past. Venus does rule the transiting south node. So how do you see that?
Well, yeah, and I think that this is at maximum awareness of a polarization here. You know, what are your inner conflicts between needs and desires, right? You know, how are you operating here? And the fact that Venus has moved into Aquarius and is aligned with both Pluto and Ceres in Aquarius, this is an awakening, an enlightenment, you know, the kind of the aha. Again, we have an acceleration of something that has been in the works that you might have been grinding through, or it might have been cementing slowly. And now it is like, you know, recognizing, aware, and hitting the fast track. You know, so as you move through that turnstile, you think about that, like that's a great example. You know, there's a bit of pressure there. You know, have you ever walked through that? You know, you're standing in the lineup, you know, at the airport, and you're waiting your turn, and you get there, and there's a little bit of pressure to get through the turnstile. As soon as you get through the turnstile, you're going to walk faster, right?
Yeah,
it's like,
for sure.
you know, the restriction's over and I'm on the go, right? Yeah. So I think that this is really quite positive. And Ceres, which has energy like Pluto, transformative, metamorphic, you know, take this thing and shapeshift it into something else. You know, it's got that kind of feel about it. But Ceres, I always relate to as a goddess of seasons, you know, so it's kind of like a new cycle starting. It's kind of that new spring, you know, after winter comes spring, right? You know, so this is very energizing, very, very dynamic, and saying, aha, you know, and you may not have the complete answer, but you've got a sense of being able to create some progress for yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Implementation, playing out, as we said earlier, is going to take time, but it's a breakthrough piece.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. All right. And also just something that you might have had tolerance before, you just don't anymore with that.
Oh, yes.
Absolutely not. Okay. So we're going to move into the full moon that will be occurring as well on the 15th. But right before that, you know, Mercury is moving along and will, you know, retrograde and will station on the 15th on the same day as this full moon as we were talking about. And it stations, I love that you brought this up, so wise of you. Mercury's at 6 Sag, which means it's the same degree that the Mars in Leo, both fire signs, was stationed at. Mars is only at 5 degrees at this full moon. So in essence, Mars and Mercury are forming a beautiful trine and within an orb of influence to that north node. So there's a grand trine between Mars and Leo retrograde, Mercury and Sag station direct, and the north node in Aries, which is the planet that pulls you into your future, your destiny. Now, Pluto is still at 0 Aquarius, so it's also forming a very supportive angle to the north node and Mercury at that time. So wow, this is a different kind of full moon feeling. How do you want to interpret this one?
Well, and the full moon's 23 degrees of Gemini, and it surpassed the degree that Jupiter went Gemini at 21 degrees back there in October. Mm-hmm. So I think that this is getting past whatever it is that you may have been grappling with for the past 2 months. You know, I've talked to a lot of clients, I myself as well too. Too much has been going on. You know, I've had 5 different things going on that any one of those is a full plate, let alone trying to juggle 5 of them at once, right? This moves us past that, I think. And, you know, we're on to a next, I think that's moving forward. You know, when a planet comes out of retrograde, we give a little bit more time, the post-shadow period, blah, 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 you know, but I think that this is really great for the forward motion that we have.
Yeah. And well, I was just going to say what's so cool is that Venus, right after that full moon and kind of the air comes out of the balloon, you're like, kind of exhale. less things on your plate. Potentially, Venus moves into a trine to Jupiter by the 19th.
On the 19th, right? So that kind of sets up the week. And by that point, we're reorienting towards the holidays, right? It's we still have like 2 weeks for Christmas. It's the week prior to. So I think that we're all kind of shifting the orientation to now planning on a little bit of a time out while we tend to the holidays.
Yes, absolutely. So Venus and Jupiter, with that trine, remembering that Venus is ruling the South Node, which is your past and relationship past. I mean, this is a perfect example of just reconnecting with family or friends at that time, people that you love to be around. I highly recommend that day, the 19th in particular, for just saving it for something special. The moon is in Leo. It's trining the sun. So just put a little asterisk.
Yeah, that would be a great time to do something social or do something for yourself to indulge a little bit. Things should flow really lovely on that date, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Yeah.
What about Should we mention that?
Well, I guess I'm not sure whether we're back before Christmas or not. But the day before Christmas, there's a cluster of aspects again. On the 24th is the second installment of the Jupiter-Saturn square. The 25th moon is in Scorpio. And by the way, I haven't seen this for a while, I guess, but Christmas and Hanukkah coincide. So it's the first day of Hanukkah as well, too, to anyone out there celebrating. On the 26th is the Mercury direct opposing Jupiter. So that is the bookend from the 4th of December to the 26th of December. On the 27th, we have Mercury square Saturn. And on the 28th, Venus square Uranus. And on the 29th, Chiron goes direct. So my sense about the holidays is that it's going to be a little bit less this year. Maybe it'll kind of come and go a little bit. But I think that we all do that. It's that idea of, groceries cost too much and everything's costing too much. And it's, we're on overwhelm. And I think the real reward of the holidays is slowing down and simplifying. Right? Simple pleasures can do it. You don't have to make it into a big deal. I mean, maybe if you have a big family, you might, but it feels a little bit low key. But on the 26th, that Mercury, Jupiter, and the 27th and so on, I kind of feel that Christmas, anyway, Hanukkah goes on for 7 days, but Christmas might be a little bit of a blimp. It comes, it goes, right? We're already like, that's over. I did my deal. I'm on the road. That's the feel that I have about the holidays.
Yeah, exactly. I feel that too. There's a little bit of a disconnect just after that. So, like you said, people kind of blow in and blow out. Something like that can feel.
Yeah, back to the serious business of life right afterwards, right? And it's got that feel about it.
Exactly. And we're going to be talking about everything that's coming right toward the end of the month and into the new year when we reconnect again.
Yes, absolutely. We are done with our time. It goes by so fast, but do want to wish you all, the best of the holidays, and don't sweat the small stuff.
I have another quote I have to share for us. In honor of Pluto entering Aquarius and Mars stationing retrograde in Leo and all that we've been talking about. As you awaken the path you walk, it becomes straight and narrow. Every one of us has an inner GPS, and the magnetic north within points to the same place, the true self, in union with the divine. We are wired to awaken.
Exquisite.
Oh, I didn't write that. That was Joya from Vibology on Instagram. So, Joya for that wonderful message. We are wired to awaken, y'all. So it's time. And until next time, namaste.